Hello and welcome to Behind Every Successful Leader, where we celebrate the power of virtual support in business growth. I'm Holly Copsey, founder of Virtually Priceless and the Visionary VA Circle, and I'm here to highlight the incredible impact VAs have in making businesses more successful. My guest today is the lovely Sapna Pieroux. Sapna is a multi-award-winning personal and business brand consultant, designer, speaker, and author of the best-selling business book award-winning Let's Get Visible. She works with impact-driven business owners, go from unseen to unstoppable. Sapna's vision process means she can rebrand a business in a day. Clients call her Super Saps. Her real superpower is helping the world see yours, so you stand out and show up with clarity and confidence for influence and impact. Sapna has partnered with Rethink Press as the go-to expert in several business communities and has lectured at the universities of West London, Northumbria, Brunel and Hull International Business School. Sapna, welcome and thank you so much for taking the time to chat today.
Thank you so much for having me, Holly.
So could you please share with us the activities and tasks that happen day to day within your business?
So there's an ongoing kind of outreach for, I do a lot of webinars. So we're always inviting people to webinars and following up with emails and then getting them onto the CRM and all the kind of stuff like that my artistic and designer brain doesn't really cope very, very well with. It sort of gets very overwhelming. So that's something that we kind of do quite regularly. I would say to my husband, I just like to turn up and be fabulous, and do my thing, right? Yeah. So I'm like a brand consultant and designer and speaker, and I want to be able to do that stuff. So a lot of the background stuff is the stuff that kind of burns my brain a little bit and sort of flummoxes me a bit, and I find that quite stressful. So if I'm delivering stuff to clients, this is when I love it. I might be delivering a webinar, or I might be developing a talk, or I might be branding a client, like working with a client on their business brand. And then I'm also working with clients on their personal brand as well. So like showing them how they should stand out in their industry, how they can communicate their value. So I've got like a coaching program, which I'm taking a bunch of female entrepreneurs. I do work with men as well, but it just happens to be that we had 8 women sign up for this one. Although I've got a man signed up for the second one at the moment that I'm sort of recruiting for. So so it's delivering that training and sort of giving value. I also guest on quite a few podcasts, just sort of talk about branding. And I'm sort of getting back out there on the speaker trail as well. So I'm I've got various talks that I can deliver. So that's kind of my week might be any number of those things. There's been networking as well, sort of online and offline networking. And I've also started my own networking group called the Notworkers. And it's kind of like networking for people who don't really like networking. So there's an added arm of kind of interest there of what I'm building. I've just started that, so we've not had our first event yet, but it's going to be karaoke.
Brilliant. I love that. So very action-packed, busy diary.
Yeah.
So at what point in your business journey did you realise you needed to bring in some virtual support, and how did you find your wonderful VA, Neeta Grayling?
So I've been in business for 8 years. And prior to that, I spent 20 years in corporate. I know I don't look old enough, do I, to have nearly 30 years work experience. I did have a couple of years out for babies and things as well. When I started my business, I mean, obviously before, when I was working in corporate, we had a team of kind of people. They used to call them VA. They weren't VAs. They were sort of secretaries or sales support or whatever. And so I've always sort of had support and tech support and whatever in my life when I was in corporate. And then when I came out of corporate and into like my own business, I was like, shit, how do I do that bit and that bit? And I'm lucky that I've got a husband who is a tech guy. Like he owns a tech company. So he would sort me out the sort of basic stuff and set up and, set me up my website and things like that. When I started out, I've since had it professionally done. But we got a point, when you start your business, you sort of run around trying to think you can't afford to outsource. You're trying to do it all yourself. You're trying to do it all. And also, I was a bit of a control freak. So, I was kind of like, it's my business and I know how it needs doing. And also there is a point of like, you're trying to work out how you want it to be. And I think it's is possibly a little bit, what's the word, irresponsible if you bring someone in too soon, because you don't know what you don't know, and you don't actually know what you need someone else to do until you've tried to do it yourself, realize that you can't do it, and then you hire someone, because it's like, well, I need to plug these gaps. These are gaps in my knowledge. And you could, at first, you kind of like start thinking, well, maybe I'll teach myself to do this, and I'll teach, and then you realize it all takes too long, and you can't be an expert at everything. So, it didn't take me too long to realize, well, the first thing I outsourced, I have to say, was, well, the first thing was accountancy. So that went to a specialist accountant. And then the second thing, which I really hated doing, was social media. So I did outsource that to somebody else, social media. So it's like starting to delegate things. And then like, I'm like, no, I still hate systems and processes and all of that stuff. Like, so I think I'd say that was probably the third hire. Once I'd got those things running, and then it was like, right, what else can I delegate so I can just turn up and be fabulous? It was probably a year and a half before I got a VA the first time around.
And how did you find Neeta?
I had a 2-year break out of my business, not because of babies, but just recently I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so I had to take 2 years out of the business. Now, at that point, I obviously let my VA go, the social media person go. I had this little team, and I just basically said, I'm not pushing the business forward anymore. So I had to let everyone go. And then last year I came back into my business. And then, again, I was kind of bootstrapping because I hadn't been running the business for 2 years. I was like, well, and I wasn't that busy. It was like, I can do all this myself, right? So
until things pick up.
Until things pick up. And then you start doing stuff yourself, but there's still stuff, whether it picks up or not, there's still stuff I hate doing and that I'm not very good at doing. So this time I came to the conclusion a lot quicker that I needed a VA. And then it became the problem was finding someone. I didn't want to go back to the old VA. Not that she wasn't a lovely person, but she wasn't as tech savvy as I needed. It wasn't like the business had moved on, and I wanted to get, the tech was holding me back. And I needed someone that was going to be much more tech savvy, that could build a landing page, that could, kind of understand funnels and things like that, because it's really not my area of expertise. So we found the lovely Neeta through personal recommendation. That's just, the way it goes. I had a friend in a mastermind that I'm in, and she was raving about her new VA. And she was like, oh my God, she's got capacity if anybody wants someone. And I was like, can I talk to her? So we chatted, and it was an unusual situation, and we've not been working together that long. But she said, look, I'm going to be, she was starting working with me, and then she'd have like 5 weeks working with me, and then she was going off to have a baby. So she's only just come back this week. And that worked all right because it was the Easter holidays for me anyway. But so there was a point where it was like, we're just getting motoring, and like, she's going to be gone. And then I was like, but what was amazing was as soon as she came on board, I just kind of like, I felt my shoulders drop. I felt like this relief of like, oh my God, I've got someone I can delegate this stuff to. Oh my God. And I actually I've said to her a few times, I was like, my God, you're faster than ChatGPT. Like, I literally have to say something to her. And then like by the time, and I had my laptop with me, and I just asked her to do something on WhatsApp. And by the time I'd gone to my laptop, it was done, and I could see, and I was just like, that's like almost like, she's very fast, so that's brilliant.
Such a relief.
And just gets it done, and it's like, so it's freed up like the repetitive tasks of like, and she finds ways to do it that I wouldn't have even thought of doing it. And she's like, she'll do it in a different way. And I'm like, oh, I would have done it that way. Oh yeah, your way's probably better. Let's do it that way then.
So you've mentioned techie sort of duties there and landing pages and that sort of thing, but what can you give us a flavour of the tasks that she completes for you?
So as I just said, we've not been working together very long. So we're still scoping out the range of things that I can kind of offload to her at the moment. But what she's doing at the moment is helping me with recruiting for a webinar that I'm running. So she's sending out invites and follow-ups, and making sure that people have registered properly, because LinkedIn doesn't let you if people say they're going to a LinkedIn event, you then have to take them to your Zoom. You can't just, unless you're doing it as a LinkedIn event, you need to get them to register, which has been the biggest pain in the ass. The whole process with LinkedIn and those things. Anyway, so she's been doing the pain in the ass things and following up with people personally and making sure that they get, and then she'll be running the show when I'm doing the webinar. She'll be like letting people in and, kind of keeping an eye on the chat, and then following up afterwards as well, the follow up, all those bits that I find really, like, as I say, I just want to turn up and be fabulous. So she does the bits before and the bits after and the bits during, actually. So I can just focus on delivery and focus on the people that I'm there to serve.
Yeah, incredible. So, I mean, how having a VA sort of not just now, but obviously over the years, how has it changed the way you work or helped you grow the business?
Well, it frees up time, doesn't it? It frees up time. It's like an extra pair of hands, an extra brain, and like a sounding board as well. I think when you work for yourself, you can sort of tie yourself up in knots. Yes, I can bounce things off my husband, but he's his own business owner, and he's got his own stuff going on with his business. So it's nice to be able to have someone who's working on my business, who's focused on that. And we can kind of, and I'll go, and also she's got experience of working with other entrepreneurs, other business owners, so she can kind of bring in best practice. Which, it's like, well, I did this with my client this way, and I was like, oh, okay, let's do it that way then. So that's kind of really good. It frees up time. It gives me parts of my evening back. I wouldn't say it gives me my entire evening back, but it gives me more space. So I'm probably feeling it a little bit at the moment because she's had 2 weeks off, and I'm still feeling that I'm catching up in the evenings. But she's sort of bedding back in. I don't want to give her too much right now because she's also dealing with a newborn.
Oh, so what advice would you give other business owners who might be hesitant about using virtual support?
Don't delay it if you're running around in circles. If you can afford it, that's the thing. I mean, isn't it? A lot of people kind of think, oh, I can't afford a VA, but it's like, can you not afford? Can you afford to not have one? There's something like, that we talk about, is the task something that can you earn more like doing your thing? And if you can earn more doing your thing, then all the other things that are a different price point. I don't want to say a price point here because it might be everybody's got different price points. But if you can outsource it and it's for less than you can earn doing your thing and turning up and being fabulous, then there is definitely a business case for it. And outsourcing just stops you feeling overwhelmed and stops you burning out, and all the things that you hate about running your business, you could outsource. I mean,
get rid of them.
first thing, it's like, I think I met someone once and she actually said, she went, oh, I'm just a VA. And I was like, don't say just.
No.
Because like, no. You're like the backbone. You're the backbone of the business. And it feels like, I've spent too long propping up the business myself, and it's so nice to be able to have another person to kind of like, so you can let go for a bit and somebody's still there holding it. That's brilliant.
Sharing that mental load is so vital, isn't it? Yeah. And what are your top tips for working effectively with a VA?
Oh, I think you'd probably have to ask Neeta for that. But I think clear communication and timely communication, and not, sort of giving people an idea of what it is that they need to do and when they need to do it by, I think is the first thing. There's plenty of room for, and also not overloading. I think because I'm probably undiagnosed ADHD. I keep saying like I've got so many things going on in my head, but I could just kind of vomit it all out and go, blah, and then there's this and this is, and actually I need to kind of just go, do you know what do we need to do right now? Let's get that bit done. And especially now that Neeta's come back with her newborn, I don't want to overwhelm her with like all the things I need to do with my business. So let's. And we're quite early in our working journey, so I don't want to scare her off either. But just kind of like that, let's do it step by step, and let's not try and run before we, she's getting familiar with the systems and embedding things. So clear communication, timely and structured communication, I think as well, and not overloading. And also just like things like saying please and thank you, you know, I think just appreciating the work that she's doing as well is really important, and making her feel valued.
Yeah.
So Neeta, this is for you. This is for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was going to be my next question. If she's watching this, what would you like to say to her? But I think that's a pretty good summary right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, it's been, no, I do say to her, like, you know, how much of a difference she's made. And I tell her that almost daily. Well, if we don't necessarily speak daily, but every time I'm like, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think feeling valued is really important.
Definitely. And it's so great to hear she's had such a huge impact in such a short amount of time already, and that you're really feeling that benefit. So that's, I think, speaks volumes about her and her abilities and the impact she's having on your business.
Yeah, no, she set something up the other day, and she said, so I've put it with this way so that, you know, if in the future, if I'm not working with you, and I was like, what? No, like, and I was like, you're not thinking of leaving already? She was like, no, but
just doing the right thing though, right? And that's, again, shows what a great approach that she's already thinking that way, that you're set up for success in the future, regardless of whether you're working together. I love that. Yeah, fantastic. So thank you so much. I mean, finally, where's the best place for people to connect with you and learn more about your business and your amazing new networking opportunity?
So LinkedIn is where I mainly play. So find me there, Sapna Pieroux. If you want to join my personal brand, that's what I've got. Personal brand program. I've got business brand services, and then there's the Notworkers. Just again, find me on LinkedIn, and I have started an Instagram page, but I've literally posted nothing on there yet because we've not had an event yet.
Yeah.
So and I should have put like a post on there. I've got like 8 followers. So you can follow me at the Notworkers, but we haven't actually got many people on there because I haven't posted anything yet.
Oh,
awesome. But yeah, our first event is the 22nd of May. It's going to be in London, and it's karaoke. So we're doing some in-person networking.
Fabulous. Well, I'm in London quite frequently, so I would definitely be checking out the details for that one. I love a bit of karaoke.
Oh, right. Well, I'll send you the details. And there'll be other events that I'm sure you might be able to turn up to.
Oh, well, thank you so much. We'll share all your details, obviously, with the show notes and stuff anyway. But it's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you, and so great to hear what a fabulous job that Neeta is doing. And yeah, wish you both continued success in your journey together.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. And thank you again, Neeta, as well as Holly.